Welcome to our webinar. My name is Michael Barasch of Barasch McGarry, and I'm just so thrilled that you were able to join us this afternoon. And more importantly, I hope you'll be able to help us spread the word about some of the things you're going to learn this afternoon. We're going to be talking about the World Trade Center Health Program and the Victim Compensation Fund and your rights. And we really hope you will help us spread the word, not only to your friends and colleagues who were with you, whether you were a New York or New Jersey responder and now live out west, or perhaps you were a Phoenix or San Diego firefighter or cop and you volunteered and came to New York. We hope you'll help us spread the word about these rights, because all too many non-New Yorkers have not yet enrolled. Let me introduce you to some of the people who are on the panel with me. I'm just going to go across my screen here. First of all, this is a retired Deputy Chief Richard Allies of the FDNY. Thank you, Richie, for joining us today. We have Tom Brock, and I'll let Tom introduce himself. My partners, James Steiner, Dana Cohen, Dom Penson, and Lee London. So we will play a short video and then we'll come back.
The first thing that I hear from the non-first responder community in Lower Manhattan is, look, I'm sick, but I don't deserve anything. I'm not a first responder. I just lived here. I just studied here. I just went to school here. I just raised a family here. Your presence here was an act of courage and resilience. The first responders, I'm in awe, but I also am in great awe of those who came back to a war-torn neighborhood that was clearly toxic. We knew it, but you stayed anyway, and you allowed this area to grow and to become the hub. But it's your courage and your resilience that brought this place back. So please, I urge you, access what you are owed.
Over the last decade, we have all fought very hard so that everyone has access to the health care that they need. It is very important that every community member who lived anywhere south of Houston understands that you are covered. You are part of the group of people that have guaranteed health care if you have a 9/11 related disease.
I was on my way to work when the first plane hit. I was working for Goldman Sachs. I actually worked for them for a total of 21 years. I always thought that those programs were geared for the firemen and the police officers, but I'm one of the victims of that.
So we have taken on, with all of these advocates here, the task of trying to get everyone to understand that they have rights, and it is imperative that they sign up.
It's also critical that we reach our students and our staff members, our teachers who were in the schools 18 years ago.
One of the really surprising things about our research is that an event in 2001 can continue to have echoes 17 and 18 years later, such that it is as though never smokers are smoking 2 packs a day.
Our law firm now represents over 25,000 people in the 9/11 community.
The majority right now are first responders, but every single day we hear from more and more survivors because we're doing this outreach. Basically, to be entitled to compensation, you need to prove that you were below Canal Street or on the Fresh Kills landfill, either caught in the dust cloud on 9/11 or for 24 hours during the month of September 2001, or for 80 hours, which is just 2 full work weeks between 9/11 and May 30th of 2002. And you need to get 2 people to sign an affidavit attesting to the fact that I saw him. I worked next to Joe. I went to school next to Francis. That's all it takes. There's a reason why my firm takes all this so personally. I have 6 young people who work for me who have lost a parent or a spouse as a result of World Trade Center toxins. 9 people in my law firm, including me, are cancer survivors. The information you get from us is going to be compassionate, and it's our pleasure to help you.
All right, let's start with Tom Brock. Tom, thank you so much for being here and for inviting some of your colleagues out west to tune in today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what your connection is to people who have moved out west, like yourself.
Thank you, Michael. My name is Tom Brock, and I'm originally from Carlstadt, New Jersey. Some of you may be familiar with Giant Stadium. That's where we were. I was a volunteer fireman, a police officer. I was the first firefighter hired at the Meadowlands way back in 1977. So no one start doing their math. We can figure that out later. But I moved to Phoenix many years ago after being injured in the line of duty. I had 11 surgeries. And I got to meet just a wonderful group of guys about 25 years ago called the retirees, the FDNY retirees of Phoenix. About 10 years ago, I became the secretary of the group, and we are as tight-knit now as we ever were. And I would like to thank Michael Barasch and this wonderful team that are on the screen. As I said, I grew up in Carlstadt, which was just a short distance from the Trade Center. I watched it being built. My father worked in Brooklyn, so when I went to work with him, I could see it growing. I saw it every day, as you know, from the skyline. I lost many friends that day. I wasn't there, I was here. I lost many friends, and I continue to lose many friends. On September 11th, 2001, or the weeks following, a lot of volunteers from around the country boarded airplanes. And they responded to a situation that no one could have ever dreamed of. And they did that because they were first responders, because they knew what their job was, that our city needed help. And they responded there. It's those first responders, the workers, the volunteers, that we want to make sure that they understand, and I hope I could help with that they understand exactly what the video just said, understand their rights, understand what they earned, and do this for themselves, do this for their families. In the short time I've been involved with this, I've seen that firsthand. And to be quite honest, I didn't know I qualified. I was back there in March of 2002. And all these years later, I found out from Michael. So there are people out there that don't know what their rights are, what they may have earned. And those are the people that I'm going to try to touch. And I know everyone on the screen is going to help us do it. And it's only because we're so far away. We're 2,000 and 3,000 miles away that we don't see the commercials or the advertisements or what have you. So with the help of Michael and, like I said, everyone on this incredible team that I'm honored to be even on the screen with, we're going to do, I guess, the best we can to inform them and let them know what they can do, again, what they earn. So thank you, Michael. Thank you to the team. Again, I'm honored to be on the screen with you, and thank you.
Tom, it's my pleasure. I also want to welcome Larry Carrito. Larry, say hi and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Michael. My name is Larry Carrito. I am a retired detective with the NYPD. I currently live in Scottsdale, Arizona. I am the president of the Arizona 1013 Association. It's a group of retired NYPD members. We meet once a month. We're meeting tonight, actually, and I hope I spread the word to my members. I hope some of them are in this webinar as well. I was a first responder at Ground Zero. I got to Ground Zero on the evening of 9/11, and I helped work the rescue, the cleanup effort as well. I do have some health problems as a result, as many other of my colleagues and friends. I had some help. Mike Barasch, his team, his office helped me out. I am receiving treatment through the World Trade Center health program. I'm doing my best to help spread the word. I know there's a lot of talk in the locker rooms with the guys where I don't need help, I'm okay, everything's gonna be all right. No, you need help. Everybody needs help. And I can't stress it. It's not just for our first responders, people that live there, people that work there, people that came down to help, people from all over. I know there are firefighters in Phoenix that went down there that helped out, and some are sick, and some of these guys have no idea how to go about getting help. And I really appreciate the fact that Michael put this together, and I'm honored to be a part of it. And I hope that I could do my best to help spread the word and help others that were affected by this.
Well, thank you, Larry. Look, the government made a terrible mistake when the EPA told us all that the air was safe to breathe. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't safe. But then they did the right thing. Congress passed the James Zedroga Health and Compensation Act. Our problem is that all too many downtown residents, all too many volunteers from all over the country, including the USAR men and women from FEMA, volunteers who helped out in construction, they don't realize that they are entitled to the same benefits as the New York City firefighters and cops. So we're going to talk about those benefits right now. And let's start with Deputy Chief Richie Allies. Could you tell us a little bit about the World Trade Center Health Program, which is one of the two programs established by the Zedroga Health and Compensation Act?
Sure. And a big hello to my brothers and sisters out there in Arizona. My involvement with this, began in 2007 as the legislative and political director for IAFF Local 854, the fire officers in the city. And, there's two aspects to the program, the health program and the victim compensation fund. The health program was always near and dear to me because still as an active chief in the department and a first responder, we were already seeing our members coming down with, horrendous illnesses. So, and also knowing, as Tom had said, that so many departments sent members in a lot of the smaller departments across the country. These members, when they retire, they don't get health benefits in retirement. So they either have to get a second job that has health benefits, or if they're fortunate enough to have a spouse that has health benefits. So for those members that don't maybe have proper health coverage, the World Trade Center Health Program is a lifeline. And then for those of us that are fortunate enough to have come out of big departments where, we were entitled to health benefits in our retirement, it's still critically important to be enrolled in the World Trade Center Health Program. And I'll explain some of the benefits of that. Not to mention the fact that there's no paperwork involved and no co-pays like you do with any insurance plan or with Medicare. So you're entitled to an annual medical exam. They do a lot of cancer screening. They check for respiratory and also gastrointestinal illnesses. What I do is that I use, both plans. I make an appointment for my World Trade Center medical, and 6 months later, I go to see my primary care physician. I bring the results from the World Trade Center medical with me, and he's able to, evaluate that and see, where I am with certain things. So that's twice a year I'm getting checked out. It's not going to prevent me from getting sick, but what I've learned in this job is that everything is about early detection and early treatment. That I've had countless conversations with first responders across the country that were not on top of their health because they stuck their head in the sand, or they just, weren't on top of it, or they felt okay. Well, feeling okay doesn't mean that you are okay. Another benefit is the full prescription coverage. And again, anybody with prescription coverage, in their private health insurance doesn't have 100% coverage. There's always co-pays and there's always an annual cap. So you never ever want to use your private union welfare prescription plan to get a World Trade Center prescription. Most importantly, these illnesses that we see, one in particular, the most common illness is skin cancer. Oddly enough, right? Turns out that the pH of the toxins was the same as Drano. So that's the #1 cancer in the 9/11 community. Unfortunately, it's something that's not screened for at the World Trade Center Health Program, but it's compensated for by the fund. So you take advantage of your personal health insurance and make an appointment with a dermatologist for a full body skin exam. And then in descending order, it's been prostate cancer for the guys and colon cancer for everyone. Two cancers that show no symptoms until it's too late, yet are easily detected by regular medicals. Now, the PSA count for prostate cancer and with a colonoscopy. Colonoscopies used to be recommended for people 50 and over. That number's been reduced to 45. And some people at a younger age, if they have a family history of it. Also, we have members that, you know, once they've had a colonoscopy and they have nodes are found, they're precancerous conditions, they may be on a more aggressive schedule of every year or every 2 years, every 3 years, every 4 years, so on and so forth. So that's the prime reasons. The health program works really good, but it only works if you use it.
All right, thank you. Let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about the Victim Compensation Fund and specifically for the personal injury clients as opposed to the death cases. So Lee London, hi there. Would you please tell us a little bit about the benefits of the Victim Compensation Fund and who is eligible?
Sure. Thanks so much. Thank you everyone for joining today. It's so important to get the information out there on the two programs that affect 9/11 responders and survivors. We really put these webinars on to get the correct information out. And as Tom said, you're not all around it with the commercials in New York. We want to make sure that you get the information that you need, because this fund was supposed to shut down in 2016, then it was supposed to shut down in 2020, and now it has been permanently funded and extended to outlive anybody in the exposure zone. So now we're dealing with a permanent fund and a fully funded fund moving forward. Things have been updated and areas are only going to get better as we move on. But again, there will be obstacles to any change you go through. Now, just so everybody understands, a first responder can be treated at the World Trade Center Health Program if they're sick or not. So we encourage everybody to register for the health program, register for the VCF, call us even if you're healthy. Now, back 5 years ago, if you didn't have any physical conditions and you only had the mental conditions such as anxiety and PTSD, we wouldn't be able to help you for the Victim Compensation Fund because they only compensate for physical conditions. But the health program has amazing facilities to treat different types of mental illnesses and other types of conditions that people suffer from. So I just wanted everybody to be aware of that. Now, concerning the Victim Compensation Fund, this program has been fully funded and extended, and there can be many different types of claims that you can make, but I will go through it considering the non-economic loss aspect of making a claim with the Victim Compensation Fund. Now, the biggest part about the Victim Compensation Fund is you never waive your future legal right. So if you have asthma in 2014 and you received an award of $20,000, I can amend your claim based on severity as time goes on, and I can continue to amend your claim. So I can always go back to the fund with new conditions, new evidence, because things change over time. Conditions develop over time. That's why it's so important not to miss your daily checkups, not to miss any of your appointments, and to protect yourself and your friends, because you could be healthy and then all of a sudden these illnesses come out of nowhere. We want to make sure you're set up today, so you're not worried about getting your proof of presence together or signing documents when you're sick. Now that this fund is permanently funded and extended, we are encouraging all responders and survivors to register for the VCF today, even if you're healthy. But going back to the non-economic loss aspect of a VCF claim, the awards can range from non-life-threatening illnesses between 20 to 90,000, and skin cancer is the #1 condition that we are getting calls about for all first responders because it takes that long to develop on your skin. When the dust settled, we're getting calls about melanoma, basal, squamous. Anybody on this webinar should be getting a full body skin check if they haven't already. That's #1. But again, you can always amend your claim. So if you got 20,000 for asthma in 2014, and then God forbid you're diagnosed with prostate cancer or breast cancer today, we can amend your claim for an increased award and go back to the fund. Another aspect is loss of earnings claims. Many times our clients don't let us know that their condition caused them to be disabled from employment and force them out of employment. That is something that we can make a claim to the Victim Compensation Fund for loss of earnings, an economic loss claim. So please ask questions, because this is the time that if any of your 9/11 illnesses are impacting you, we want to hear about it. Also, God forbid somebody is terminal. I always get calls from members that say, my friend has stage 4. We have an amazing expedite program where if somebody is stage 4 and terminal, we can turn an award around for them in weeks instead of months and years that the typical claim can take. We can bypass the health program and go directly to the fund. And there's financial expedites and terminal expedite claims. So please, God forbid you know a friend, know somebody that was in the zone suffering, please let them know that these benefits are available. And this is not just the cancer fund. I want to be very clear about this. Respiratory conditions impact the 9/11 community, first responders, COPD, emphysema, bronchitis, asthma, it goes on. And I just want to make sure people check themselves out and get the test done. Now, out-of-pocket medical expenses are important as well, because if you're not part of Sedgwick yet and you're paying out-of-pocket, then we can make that claim directly to the VCF to get you reimbursed. But once you're in the program, then the VCF wants you to take your medicals to the program to get reimbursed once you're in. This fund is unbelievable and will only get better as time goes on now that it's fully funded.
Thank you, Lee. I want to circle back to something that Senator Gillibrand talked about in the video, and that's the map of the exposure zone. And it's important for those of you who not only were in New York, but for anyone who is at the Pentagon to realize that you too are eligible for both the World Trade Center Health Program, even though it's called the World Trade Center Health Program, which is a terrible name because it protects those of you at Shanksville and those of you who were at the Pentagon between 9/11 and November 19th of 2001, and that's for responders. And again, you need to prove that you were there, and I'm going to have James talk about the map and what you need to do to prove that you were in the exposure zone. So James, let's look at the other map. Tell us about this.
This map you see here, the health program has actually a bigger coverage zone than the compensation fund itself. So from Canal Street all the way to some areas in downtown Brooklyn will be eligible for members to receive health program benefits and avail themselves to free medical screening, treatment, and medication for any certified 9/11 related conditions. The Victim Compensation Fund, however, has a smaller demographic area. But when it comes to first responders, many of whom are on this webinar today, you guys were in the areas where the dust was most concentrated, and that's in the pile, the pit, around the perimeter where the towers once stood. So all those areas, even if you were on the outer perimeter near Canal Street, you were still in an eligible zone. And we'll prove that by using witness presence statements that we can get from anyone who saw you down there. Generally speaking, the VCF likes to see employment records to establish a person's presence, but many volunteers who came from out of state may not have employment records because they weren't there in an official work capacity, they were volunteering. So what we do is we help people by working with their witnesses to draft statements which include the specific details we know the VCF needs to see in order to establish that person's presence.
Let's move on now to something that is a reality, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear about it, but the truth is not a day goes by without 2 of our clients passing away. It's really horrifying, and what's even worse is when we have to talk to a widow and she doesn't know when her husband was there. She doesn't know where the information was. She doesn't know who his friends or colleagues were. This is especially true for the volunteers and the retirees. So I want to introduce you first to Dom Penson, my partner. Dom, would you please tell us a bit about what you and Dana do and what you recommend for everybody? What are the benefits of what are the death benefits available to people?
So Dana and I are in charge of the family assistance team at the firm. which means that part of the firm that represents families who lost somebody to a 9/11 illness. That might be a family where the victim had a claim that was pending, and they died of something else, but that claim needs to be carried to conclusion for them. Or they may have passed away from their 9/11 illness, in addition to the personal injury claim that they had filed before. Or in some instances, and I will share a story with you from last week, in some instances, we have people coming to us and they've never filed a claim. Last week, and this will show you the importance of 9/11 community networks. It was a widow who called us from South Carolina. So not Phoenix, but South Carolina, or not Arizona, but South Carolina. And between 2005 and 2012, it's important to know that cancers were not part of the eligible conditions for which you could get compensation. So you had many former first responders and others who had been exposed to the toxic air after 9/11, who during those intervening years moved out of New York and into communities like in Arizona and South Carolina and Florida and North Carolina. And being in those places, they had even less access to news about changes with the VCF or the health program. And in 2012, they first started adding cancers. Well, some people had passed away during those intervening years. And when the changes came about in 2012 and the next couple of years, their families didn't know about it. And only because she heard it from somebody else in the community last week did this widow reach out to us after her husband passed away from metastatic cancer. And he had been a firefighter, and this was also very important. If you were a retired firefighter on 9/11, when you responded to the general call, you were not eligible to reclassify your pension if you got ill after that. Well, the VCF recognizes that, and there are special awards in addition to the awards that you see listed here that I'm going to talk about in a moment. The VCF has a special award called the Special Masters Economic Loss Award for those families who have lost a firefighter who was already retired on 9/11, but nevertheless came to ground zero to help because he or she wasn't able to reclassify the pension. So it's an important thing to know. And it points out the importance of communication within these networks. It's thanks to people like you spreading the word that widows like this widow who called us last week from South Carolina learn about their benefits. So with that said, you see the awards listed on this screen. Compensation, if you file for wrongful death, includes pain and suffering awards for the victim. It includes direct awards to any surviving spouse or dependents. It includes an award, what they call for replacement services, meaning for the loss of the services that the victim used to contribute to the household, but now either the household has to go without, or they have to perform them themselves, or they have to hire someone. The VCF recognizes that, and there's an award for that. And as you see on the bottom, there is also reimbursement of all funeral expenses, whatever they may have been. And of course, what you don't see here listed is there are awards for lost earnings. If the person was working at the time of their passing, or they had stopped working on account of their illness, their estate may be entitled to an award for lost earnings on top of these other awards. And this is in addition to the personal injury claim and any awards that flow from that. And that's what James was talking about before. If the victim never collected that, then the family can collect that in addition to these.
Okay, Dana?
Thank you. Well, first, to Larry and Tom, from really the bottom of our hearts, thank you for what you did for our city, for our country, and for what you're doing now for the 9/11 community. It's so meaningful and so important.
Thank you.
And to everyone watching who was there, thank you. What Dom and I spend our days thinking about is 9/11 families. We were there too, and helping 9/11 families is our life's work. So we want to make sure that your families will know what to do should they be entitled to help from the Victim Compensation Fund. We talked about how so many people in the 9/11 community don't know their rights. Well, if the 9/11 community, the people who were there, don't know their rights, then their families are even further removed. It is so important that you speak with your family, that they understand their rights. And if you know of other families who have lost someone, make sure they know it is not too late. Any family who lost somebody to 9/11 illness, as long as they meet the exposure and illness requirements, they are covered. So it is not too late. They have until the year 2090 to make a claim. Register for the program. Get in the World Trade Center Health Program and get in the Victim Compensation Fund, even if you have a minor illness. We can live with some minor illnesses like GERD or, maybe minor asthma, but get in the program anyway, because once you are found eligible, that is a determination that is made for all time. And then your family will not have to try and figure out who the witnesses might be or how they can prove your presence. That will have been done. And in my mind, that is the most important reason to do this, because it's getting harder and harder as time goes on. And if you can't make a claim now because you aren't sick, and I hope that's the case, well, then get your proof of presence. Keep a file for your family with names of witnesses. Get affidavits, any kind of proof you have. If you have badges or citations, letters of commendation, even tax returns, pay stubs, keep it all and put it in a file together. Everything pertaining to September 11th, 2001 through May 30th of 2002, anything that shows you were there. And that will make it easier should your family need to make a claim. And get a will. It's especially important for the 9/11 community to do this because, one, the person who is the executor of your will is the person who will be entitled to bring the wrongful death case to the Victim Compensation Fund. That will be a person you will have spoken to. They will know their rights and they will know how to get help because you will have told them. So it's very important to get the will. The other thing to know is that a part of the award will pass through your will. So you have a say in where these benefits go, and who knows better than you where they're most needed. So in order to help your family and to make sure that the VCF benefits go where they're needed, you have a hand in that by making a will. Update your beneficiaries on your life insurance, on your employer benefits. That's very important. I think Richie knows a famous story of a dog who was the named beneficiary on someone's employment plan, and that is the way that went. So remember to update and spread the word, please. It's so important. We're glad you're here because every time we get to spread this message, we feel like we're reaching more people, and it's so meaningful. So thank you.
If you have any other questions, please reach out to us. We are here for you. We take this personally, and it is a privilege to represent you. I hope this was helpful to all of you. And again, don't be shy about reaching out to us. We are here for you. Goodbye, everybody.